All right, everyone. Something's brewing out there in Colorado. It is quite clear that the GOP neocons are doing everything in their power to get rid of Laurenboebert. Partially, I think it's for strategic reasons, and partially, I think it's for malevolent reasons. Now, the malevolent side is quite clear. Laurenboebert is an ally of MAGA. Neocons don't like MAGA. On the other hand, though, there is an element of strategy involved. Laurenboebert, politically, I think some of them believe is dead weight after the groping incident. I personally don't see the fucking problem. You're in a darkened theater and you get your boob briefly touched and then you use a vape, and it's against theater rules maybe, but yeah, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. And it was blown out of proportion because the legacy media doesn't like Laurenboebert. So somebody who's only in their mid-30s got groped up in a theater by a Dem staffer, actually. Almost looks like a little bit of a hit job, actually, to me. Now, I don't really care about that, but I think some of them worry more about it. They're stuck in like the 1980s with its moralism or something like that, and they don't understand that heavy petting actually is still a thing. Yeah, Elvis never existed. Nothing like that ever happened, by the way, when those people were young. They're clearly trying to destroy her. Now, the methodology is easy because she was changing districts. What they did is they get Kenbuck to go away, and now the Republican Party in Colorado wants to be able to name his replacement. So Boebert sort of gets shoved to the side, and so then has to contest with that. So they're hoping basically to shove her out and get rid of her so that there's no real possibility that she gets reelected. It's going to be a problem for her. In the end, she might prevail anyway, but that's not clearly going to be the case. Normally, incumbents have an advantage. That doesn't appear to necessarily be what's going to happen here. I think that Laurenboebert can win. I don't think that she necessarily loses her position, but they're definitely trying to make that happen, again, by forcing out Kenbuck. He's like, oh, screw this, bye. Yeah, the party can pick my replacement, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing sus about that whatsoever. They don't like her because, much like with maybe Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, some of these others in the House, of course, Massey occasionally, even though he's not really core MAGA. And in the Senate, people like Rand Paul, what they do is they don't always vote along party lines. Sometimes they decide to actually stand for something and say, no, my constituents don't want this $1 trillion spending bill. My constituents don't want this so-called compromise wherein the left is getting 90% of what it wants and we're being thrown a few peanuts. And it's more like, we control the House of Representatives narrowly, thanks to poor House leadership under McCarthy mainly. People were slowly trickling out and saying this is not going to be a thing, this is untenable. What happens is they're asserting themselves and saying, look, we actually can fight for some of the things that we believe in politically, deliver for our constituents, not continuously bonk ourselves on the head, or have a big problem wherein we're hired to do one thing and we end up doing another. It's like literally the entire party replicates Joe Manchin sometimes. Tells his constituents, well, no, I'm not going to be voting for this infrastructure bill because it's too bloated, it's too big, has a bunch of leftoid bullshit in it, and, I represent the people of West Virginia, and so, no thanks, I can't do that. Meanwhile, he's holding closed-door talks with the Biden administration. In the end, votes for it, sells everyone out. He manages to parse a tiny amount of the huge bloated spending out of it, and then calls it a day, and then apparently is actually oblivious to why that destroyed his political career. He's sworn off being a no-labeler for a reason. So is Christie. It's not clear they're going to be able to find somebody to run that has any name recognition. Hey, I'll run as a no-labeler. I'll run on the Fuck You platform or something like that. I'll probably get as many votes as RFK Jr. Hey, fuck the government. Let's dissolve as much as possible. We need to go even further out on a limb. We need Javier Milei on steroids. I do kid, by the way. I'll be voting for Trump. They're trying to destroy her big time. They have a problem. It's sort of like Madison Cawthorn, who in the end turned out to be pretty right now, didn't he? Madison Cawthorn, he's wheelchair bound, and he was in the House of Representatives. And then there was like his gay thing got leaked. And he said, look, half of Congress keeps inviting me to orgies and weird shit like that. There's coke everywhere, and these people are messed up, and you don't even realize it. And he got condemned by the GOP's leadership, like McConnell. Well, that ain't true. Yeah, no, nobody in Congress uses coke, none of you are alcoholics, and none of you have ever had an orgy. I believe that so completely. Now, no, I don't. It's bullshit. And then they forced him out, refused to give him any support. He loses, albeit narrowly. Laurenboebert narrowly winning, by the way. It's almost like the tale of two different candidates. She scraped by, Cawthorn didn't. And then in the end, then you have that video where the gay staffer there was banging on a live stream, I think a paid one if I remember correctly, in the Senate meeting room. So, well, he was right. We've got at least one instance of it, and it's on tape. Just to be clear, get a little Santorum. Was Rick Santorum in the room? I mean, his last name does have something in common with that particular style of act, but again, I digress. Laurenboebert actually stands for populistic principles. I don't like all of her beliefs. She tends to do the Jesus thing, and that's really one of the biggest sticking points with MAGA populism, is that a lot of them also have sort of that remnant Tea Party energy, where there's an element of authoritarian moralism that still seeps in, but it's like facaded over by religion or something like that. I don't necessarily appreciate that, but if you're generally voting for populistic ideals, like, hey, let's not screw the working and middle class. Let's avoid starting wars. Let's actually do what we were elected to do and go toe-to-toe with the other party, which wants to raise our constituents' taxes to an onerous level, create a bunch of new regulations, and bomb a bunch of third-worlders. Maybe we should actually fight against these things, and if we have to slow down or even shut down the government in the process, then so be it. I mean, yeah, we'll take some political lumps for that. How many lumps do we take when we refuse to do our job? And Boebert and Trump and some of these others seem to understand that on a level that, like, the Mitch McConnells of the party genuinely don't. On the other hand, with the Democrats, the oddity is that sometimes you end up getting MAGA populists voting for the same thing as the cringe far left within that party. You know, you had the Gang of Four a while ago. Then it turned into the Geek Squad. It keeps expanding. It'll probably expand in the next election again, because the mainline Democrats, they're having trouble holding things together as well. It's just that they typically just ignore the far left. They don't even try to throw them under the bus and primary them. They just roll their eyes and say, well, the neocons on the other side will pretty much do what we want them to do like good bitches anyway, so they're never going to have the votes to stop us for the most part. That seems to be the operative strategy. They are totally gunning for Laurenboebert. It is as plain as goddamn day that they want her out. That's about all. Peace out.